Hello, everybody. I took some time off from filming my story time videos, about my experiences in the prison system. Let me explain why. So, with the state of affairs today, in law enforcement and the way things, are happening, throughout the country, I felt like I needed to pull back, because at one point I thought it was going to get better. I thought, maybe after some of these tragic incidents that's been happening across the country with police and, and other law enforcement, I thought maybe it would get better, and it seemed like it didn't. It just continued to get worse. It continued to keep happening. And so I felt like, I needed to pull back, and just kind of hold off on making any more videos. And so the reason I'm deciding to go back, to dropping my videos again, one of my subscribers, you know, uh, he kind of, inspired me again to start filming again because of what he said. You know, in the beginning, I explained to everybody a little bit about myself. I told how, I'm a former Marine, Gulf War veteran. I served my country, and then I went straight from the Marine Corps into the prison system, you know, and my choice for doing that was because, that's what I was good at. First defending my country, and, in the prison system, our job was to protect the general public and also the inmates, that we housed. And so that's what I did for 24 years, and I never regretted 1 year in that career. It actually broke my heart to see, so many young guys locked up in the prison system, and ended up in that revolving door, just in and out, in and out, and no matter what you say to them, um, it just doesn't help, because in a lot of cases, these guys, they end up going right back into that same environment. You know, uh, some didn't have a choice, some did have a choice. They chose to stay in that life, and so they ended up stuck in that revolving door, coming back into the system, you know. And so what I wanted to touch on today was about that, about, how and why guys and females too, because I work with both genders. I worked 4 years with female inmates as well. And like I said, a lot of them end up back in the system because of the environment they choose to go to or to go back into. And, it's sad, but at the same time, the prison system has changed so much, from when I started in the prison system. You know, uh, I used to think that it was our job, to rehabilitate, the inmates and to help them, get back in society, and become a productive citizen. That was always the goal, but the reality is not, what their goal is. You know, the percentage of these guys that's wanting to get back into society and become a productive citizen is very small. And that's the reality of that. It's very small because society has to be a part of it. And what I mean by that is there has to be something for them to go home to. For something for them to get out, and help these guys become productive citizens, because once you get that record, once you get that dark cloud hanging over your head from being locked up, it's hard for these guys to get out and get a job, and be productive again, because people judge them based on where they came from. The minute they find out, it's over. you know there are a lot of organizations now that are reaching out and providing jobs, because we have that system in place where, you know, they go from closed custody to medium custody to honor grade. And once they reach honor grade, they are able to get into work release and work programs and things of that such, so that they can just kind of get out and go right into the jobs. But these jobs, you know, are, they're low level jobs, and I know you have to start somewhere, but there's just not enough of them, for these guys to take advantage of. The ones that want to, they do. The ones that don't, they don't. That's the nature of the beast. And so these guys that end up in that revolving door and they end up coming back into the system, when they first came into prison, they were terrified, scared to death. But then they get in there and they get acclimated, and they're either, they're either gonna get with a certain group, a certain, gang, or whatever group they decide to blend in with, for protection, for whatever reason. That's what happens. They end up in those groups. The ones that don't, in a lot of cases, they become food. And what food is, that's guys, they're targets. Guys will eat them up. The system will eat them up. The prison system, because, in the prison system, there's two set of rules. There were our rules as officers, and then there were their rules as inmates. Yeah, they had their own set of rules. And you either lived by them or you didn't. And if you didn't, there was consequences. But guys that come into the system and they get into that revolving door, right? Those same ones that I was just talking about, that was afraid and scared to death, after a few months, little time, they get acclimated. And once they get acclimated to the system, it becomes easy for them, to navigate within the prison system, because they conform to their surroundings. There's a pecking order in the prison system. Not with just inmates, even with staff. We follow the same guidelines. We just have, on our end, we start with our superintendent, and it just works its way down. So on my level as an officer, we were basically supervisors. That's what we did. We supervised the inmates, kept them in line. We made sure they followed policy, and if they violate policy, they end up, getting written up. They end up, in segregation, whatever the violation was. It depends on, the degree of punishment that they receive. And so these guys that I'm talking about, they get in the system, they're young guys, they come in, they're scared to death, and then they get acclimated, and, they conform to their surroundings. And so these are short timers. They might be 1, 2, 3 years, So after they do that time and they get back out on the street, guess what? A lot of those guys go back to that same environment, but now they go back without the fear of going to prison anymore, because they know now, I can do time. They done survived 1, 2, 3 years, see? And it makes it easy for them to go back out there and do exactly what they was doing to get her locked up the first time. That's just the state of affairs. That's just how things, that's just how it works when these young guys come back and forth into the system. People say, well, damn, didn't they learn the first time around? Yeah, they learned that they could do time. And once they figured out that they could do that time, they come right back. They don't care about going out there now and selling drugs or gangbanging or doing whatever they're doing, because they know that they can do the time. That's not, when they come back into the system, they fall right back into the pecking order that they was in. They welcome back with open arms. Yes, it's a sad state of affairs. It breaks your heart to see that happening, especially to these young guys that could actually be doing something productive with their lives. And I can tell you right now, a lot of them are talented. Yes. Whether it's sports, whether it's, music, artists, we had them all in there. These guys would, and they would come in prison, and then they would get back into, that skill set that they had, that talent that they had, they would come back to prison and do it, and I would always ask, man, why couldn't you put this to use when you was out on the street? Well, I kind of knew the answer to that already, because if you get out there in them streets will gobble you up. Yes, sir. I grew up in some tough streets in St. Louis, Missouri, where you could get killed 50 feet from your mama's front door. And me and my buddies, me and my crew, we split straight down the middle. Half went to the streets, the other half of us went into sports and, the military. That's the way it was. And all of my buddies that went to those streets, they were in that revolving door that I'm talking about. They ended up in and out of prison. And some of them even worse. Some of them are not here today. So I just want to, start my videos back. This is the first of many to come. And, if you guys like my content, just hit that like button, subscribe, and if you have any questions about any stories that you have heard that you might think was, nah, that's not real. There's no way that could happen. Hit me up with them, and I'll tell you if it's real or if it's not. Because there are a lot of myths. There are a lot of prison myths, that's out there that has been kind of glorified in the movies, but I can tell you for a fact that after 24 years, I can give you the real stories. Not that bullshit. I'm talking about what really happened. All that drop the soap stuff. So if y'all got any questions, just put them in the comments. Let me know, and I will go ahead and tell you a story that if I had that experience, I will tell you a story, and let you know what I experienced, what I saw with my own two eyes. So hopefully I can get this thing rolling again. If y'all ride with me, I'm gonna ride with y'all. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have story time. And I'm telling you right now, I got some doozies. So until the next video, deuces, y'all.